We're really excited to have you here. This is the part 2 to our series, Your Market Advantage, specifically for vendors and for edtech vendors. And today what we have on our agenda is we're going to do some introductions in just a moment and talk about the value of interoperability. We're then going to talk a little bit more of a recap from last week about the Project Unicorn Interoperability certification. Then we're going to hear about the EdSurge Product Index, then the Learn platform. We'll do a Q&A. So at any time today, if you have a question for any of our presenters or anything about this webinar, please put it into the Q&A. We will definitely get to that at the end of this webinar. And then we'll talk about next steps and a thank you. And today we have some amazing presenters joining us today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So we'll start with Danny.
Hi, I'm Danny Wagner. I'm the Senior Platform Manager for the ISTE Learning Technology Directory and the EdSurge Product Index. I have a long history with EdTech. I was the Senior Editor of Ratings and Reviews at Common Sense Media, and I was a tech coach for San Francisco Unified Public Schools.
Hey everyone, my name is Kelsey Zielinski. I'm a product manager at Learn Platform, responsible for our Organize Communicate module, which includes our product library, as well as our inventory dashboard. And I have a dog, which is sneezing very heavily behind me. So that's that sound. Yoni?
Hi, everyone. I'm Yoni Daron. I'm the Chief Strategic Partnership Officer and Founding Advisor at Branching Minds. We are we'll talk about it shortly, but we are an MTSS management platform. And in my role, I help manage our partnerships with outside vendors, organizations, associations, and folks like Project Unicorn.
Perfect. And we are going to hear from all of our wonderful presenters today. And again, if you have any questions for them, anything about this webinar or anything that you want them to answer live today, please put it into the Q&A or the chat, but preferably the Q&A so that we can see exactly those questions. And before we actually hear from them, I'm going to just recap what Project Unicorn is for anyone who is new to this webinar. So Project Unicorn is an initiative of Innovate EDU. It's a coalition of national organizations that collaborate to promote and support the use of data interoperability standards in K-12. And it's fully funded by the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what we do is provide resources and support for vendors, school systems, and states, specifically referring to data interoperability. And when we refer to data interoperability, especially in education, the way that we are defining this is the seamless, secure, and controlled exchange of data between applications. And we know and we believe that interoperability can transform teaching and learning by giving educators the information that they need to succeed, that then enables innovation in the classroom practices to help guide students. And before we hear a little bit more about the certification and also about the platforms in which your certification badge is going to be visible, we are going to hear from Yoni from Branching Minds a little bit more about the value of interoperability from the vendor perspective.
Great. Thanks so much, Chloe. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me here. So first of all, I think I'll just tell you a little bit about Branching Minds, who we are and what we do, and then go into a little bit about why interoperability is so important for us as an organization. So Branching Minds is taking learning sciences and technology in team collaboration to make MTSS, or multi-tiered system of supports, effective, efficient, and equitable. Our MTSS management platform is used in over 2,000 schools and districts across the country, serving over 1.5 million students, primarily used by educators and school and district administrators. We work with school districts of all different shapes and sizes, small, rural and suburban districts, and large urban districts like Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, Chicago Public Schools, Fort Worth ISD. And hundreds of school districts around the country. So for those who aren't familiar, a multi-tiered system of supports is a framework used in schools nationwide to really help educators to identify students' academic, social, emotional, and behavioral strengths and challenges, and provide differentiated support based on those needs. It's very much a collaborative, evidence-based approach. And so therefore, it really requires educators to have access to multiple data points, multiple data sources, and to then know what to do with that data. So for that, it's really it's really important for an MTSS management solution to take those data sources. So for example, on Branching Minds, we're able to bring data sources from student information systems, as well as assessment data, benchmark and universal screener data, as well as progress monitoring data, and bring that all into one place. So for us, the value of interoperability is really, I guess, in three main areas. One is reducing the number of manual data exports. We see educators spend so much time, hours and hours, pulling data from this source and from that source, exporting data, downloading data, uploading data, that can take hours and sometimes even weeks to pull those sources together for meetings. So to have that, to make that process much more seamless for educators is really important for us. Secondly, it's improving the process of helping educators make data-informed decisions. So when educators are able to look at a screen and have all that data in one place, one, they're not obviously spending that time downloading, and they're really able to spend that time doing the work that they need to do, but also they're able to make better decisions on how to support their students when that information is right there and really able to see the connections between a student's assessments and their interventions and how that student has been receiving support, and then to make decisions on how that student needs to receive support next. And lastly, it's really helping to limit and hopefully to eliminate the double entry of data. We know that teachers spend hours on entering data in one system and then in another, and really that's just not something that works for Branching Minds, and should not be used in schools. And so to every extent possible, to eliminate the need for teachers to enter data in multiple sources is really important. And finally, I guess I'll just add that we see in this time of where teacher burnout, teachers are leaving the profession in droves. We really believe it's vitally important for organizations like Branching Minds or any edtech vendor or provider to really make that process for educators seamless. The compliance side of education can be burdensome for educators, and anything we can do to make that process easier so that teachers are able to spend more time doing what they love and the reason why they came into the classroom, to spend time with their students and to support their students. That's really important for us as Branching Minds. It's a value of ours, and I think it should be for others as well.
So just a couple questions for Branching Minds and just for any other edtech vendors that are out there thinking about the certification. So why did Branching Minds decide or seek out the Project Unicorn certification?
So I guess there are two things. Primarily, I think we saw interoperability as an important value for us as a company, obviously for our product, and so it's something that helped to differentiate us among our competitors, among those in the marketplace. And so we wanted a independent third-party validation so that schools and districts can see that is important for us. And it's something that we really spend a lot of time in our product development to make it easier for educators. And then in a second way, in a sort of unexpected way, that was our primary reason. But in an unexpected way, what we found is the process of actually going through the certification was actually incredibly valuable for us as well. Our data management team, led by Kanisha Vaughn, who wasn't able to be here with us today, went through the rubric that I'm sure Chloe will share with you shortly. And what she found is going through that process really helped her to receive a kind of a benchmark of where Branching Minds was and how we can make things better, and to kind of have another organization, an outside party, look at your processes currently and evaluate that was really helpful for her to make sure that Branching Minds as an organization is doing the things that it needs to be doing and should be doing to make interoperability embedded in us as an organization.
Yes, and I will be talking a little bit more about the rubric in a moment and share that. But just one more question, Yoni. So what is the value that Branching Minds has found or received from the certification?
So we definitely use the certification. We were fortunate enough to receive the Tier 4 interoperability certification from Project Unicorn. And so we use every opportunity we can to promote that. So it's on our website and in our marketing materials. We use that in sales conversations when school districts ask us about interoperability, how Branching Minds is able to ingest data from different data sources. It's something we promote in RFPs, in responses to RFPs, and also in third-party marketplaces or organizations like the EdSurge product index as well. And it gives us an advantage over something that our competitors don't have. And so it's something that's important for us.
Again, put them into the chat. We're going to hear a little bit more from him during the Q&A session. And I'm just going to recap a couple points from last webinar, which was the part 1. If you missed it, it is on our YouTube channel, which just goes over all the different parts of the certification and the rubric, but a couple pieces to recap. So this rubric was made as an effort to create a shared language for schools, districts, states, and vendors. And I'm going to quickly put into the chat the rubric, which Yoni was just referring to, if you want to take a glance at that. And this rubric is meant to be living. So we are constantly working with our technical advisory committee to update this rubric and think about where the current market is. It's not super easy to update it, in the moment. It's actually a process that takes sometimes months, sometimes a year to update the new rubric, but just be aware that this is something that continues to change as the market changes. And again, what this certification is a signal that an edtech product prioritizes data interoperability. So this certification can enable school systems to know that they're investing in products that prioritize interoperability and giving that trust. And again, we go through that a little bit more in the part 1 series. So feel free to check out that webinar recording on our site. And a few things about when you are going through the process. So this certification offers a nuanced tiered signal to consumers, and the applications will be ranked on their level of interoperability on a scale from 1 to 4, based on the level of interoperability as per that rubric that I just shared. And each question will be scored on the scale based on the response and also the evidence or artifacts that we are provided. And we're going to get into this a little bit. We're going to hear from Danny in just a moment about the EdSurge product index, as well as Kelsey about the Learn platform. But your badge is going to be displayed on these 2 product indexes, which they will talk a little bit more about. And I just want to show the badges that are displayed. So some of the uses for marketing and visibility of the badge are for the visibility on these indexes. Again, you could put it on your website, just as Yoni said. We put it in a press release. We invite you to speak at webinars. And then we're continuing to work on marketing materials that we can give to you to use with this badge. And a couple little quick FAQs. So cost, absolutely no cost. This is a free certification. It is free to apply to become certified, receive your badge. Time investment, it is a very, very little time investment for most vendors. The most time consuming part is figuring out how to give your artifacts, whether that's a screen recording or a meeting with the Project Unicorn team or just screenshots. And then just as I was referring to the evidence and artifacts, this can be creative. However you want to show us that evidence, that works for us. And the scoring, again, is a tiered system with a range. So you do not have to receive every single point in order to get a 3 or a 4. This is a feedback loop. We are more than happy to give you feedback on where you would sit on the rubric and where you would get that badge. So I'm going to pass it over to Danny in just a moment to talk about the EdSurge product index. But you can start looking at the application at www.projectunicorn.org. In the top where it says interoperability tools, click interoperability certification. And then you can click where it says complete the interoperability certification application. And I will pass it over to Danny to talk about the EdSurge product index.
Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about both the ISTE LTD and the EdSurge product index today. They can be admittedly confusing to people because they are two different products with two different brands, but they're actually intrinsically connected, and I'll talk about that. If you have a product page that's currently on the newly redesigned index, keep in mind that I'll be sharing some of the new partnerships we have coming up in a minute. So, to make an informed decision about purchasing edtech products, educators could find themselves going to 20 different places to find 20 different pieces of information that they have to try to piece together to determine if it will meet their specific needs in a specific context. And we often hear this complaint specifically in regards to interoperability and privacy information. Unfortunately, this process can be so cumbersome that more often than not, educators and districts, they make these huge buying decisions based on incomplete information, anecdotal information. And especially after pandemic spending, they've reported to us lots of buying regret. It's a massive problem. Millions of dollars are wasted every year with education leaders doing the best they can. So ISTE wants to help solve this problem by creating products that are 1, free, and 2, accessible to everyone. So we've created the ISTE Learning Technology Directory. This is basically a free self-service place for solution providers to add their product information and then update it whenever they'd like. How it works is that vendors register their products. They're assigned a unique identifier. It's called a ULTID. It's basically like a barcode for edtech products. And once our API is in place, partner systems will be able to pull that data and get updated automatically in real time with the latest changes that vendors make to their product information on the LTD. Right now, ISTE's Learning Technology Directory powers the EdSurge product index. So everything that vendors put into the LTD gets shown on the product index. The LTD is the backend database. The index is the front-facing place for consumers. We've partnered with Project Unicorn, Digital Promise, Common Sense, and the Student Data Privacy Consortium, who add some of their badges and certifications to the LTD that get pushed to the index. Data is also pulled into the systems for our annual conference, and schools and districts will be able to use our API to pull data from the LTD to make approved lists of products. And that's something we're working with 77 of the largest school districts in the country right now to sort of get them adopting the index into that approval process. The LTD is really designed to help bridge the gap of communication between buyer and consumer. So the information we request from solution providers is pretty comprehensive. And it may take a little bit of time to fill out your info, depending on how much you want to add. Luckily, you can save a draft and come back when you have more time, and not all the fields are required. While it's a lot to ask vendors to submit, especially if they have to hunt down info about single sign-on or maybe a privacy statement, once it's in place, you'll never need to add it again. And we're currently working with, like I said, the biggest districts in the country. And frankly, this is the information they've told us they want to see, and they want to see it in one place. So the whole purpose is to be that one-stop shop so that educators and districts can use. And we really appreciate that vendors take the time to be honest, accurate, and complete with the information they submit. All this to say that it gets ported to a product page on the EdSurge product index. This was launched in 2012 and has been a resource for educators to learn and discover about new solutions. But we've completely overhauled and redesigned the index. So now educators will be able to find the most complete, reliable, and up-to-date information on products. And that's because vendors can update it whenever a change occurs. We have enhanced product profiles, and we have third-party product certifications by trusted organizations like Project Unicorn. Some of the features of the index for educators and districts. In addition to the up-to-date product information, we have lots of filters that educators can use to hone in on their very specific needs. We have a comparison tool that allows educators to save products and then actually see them side by side on the index and see all the categories of information right next to each other, and export that to a spreadsheet they can use for sending to colleagues, for professional development, things like that. And we also have a decision guide, which we're working on a second version of. That's a rubric that basically helps users narrow down their short list of products, and it will help them make more confident pilot and purchasing decisions by, again, comparing products side by side. Most importantly, we have our validations page. This is where you'll find information for interoperability, including the Project Unicorn interoperability rating. Also sections for privacy, digital pedagogy, research and evidence, usability, and soon we'll be adding accessibility. We populate the badges for solution providers, and educators and schools can click through to find out more about that certification and go directly to these third parties' sites so that they can see what the certification is all about. We're also in talks with various organizations right now to possibly add new badges. Ones that we're looking into adding are the Project Unicorn Interoperability Pledge, the Student Privacy Pledge from FPF, iKeepSafe's FERPA and other privacy badges, and CAST has a new UDL certification that is for usability and accessibility. And there are a couple of various others, but these are the ones we're looking to add to the index so that we can really show people different sources of certifications and badges. And really, in the end, we believe that access to information, especially by adding these validations, is the key to bridging edtech discovery so that people can make informed and equitable decisions for teaching and learning. And so this is the LTD and the product index.
Any questions at all about the product index, please put them into the Q&A, but we are going to move along to Kelsey to talk about the Learn platform.
Hey, thanks, Chloe. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Kelsey. I'm from Learn Platform. Before I jump into more information about our platform, I wanted to present some data. So here we have some information that came from our recent EdTech Top 40 analysis, and it revealed that each user type, educator and students, are accessing almost 150 tools over the course of the school year. So they're using a lot of tools for teaching and learning. And this finding really underpins the necessity for EdTech interoperability so that teachers are able to spend their time in the classroom with students and not take on the burden of logging into collecting, inputting, and transferring data between these systems. In addition to the challenges faced by educators and students, admins also have their own set of challenges. And we've seen a huge growth in the number of tools used in districts, especially since the COVID pandemic began, and districts started to require an increasingly complex edtech ecosystem to handle the balance of in-person and remote learning. And all this technology has led to where we are now, where admins are trying to step back to identify all the tools in use at their district to collect, analyze, and make evidence-informed decisions about their edtech. And interoperability is a significant data point with vetting, but admins must also consider research-based outcomes for their tools and students and teachers are using, and what are the potential risks to student data privacy and their school system. So I want to point out that for providers, this means showing evidence of effectiveness for student learning, safeguarding student data and privacy, and of course, demonstrating a commitment to your interoperability. So admins and educators engage with this edtech vetting process from unique perspectives, and they ask questions about curriculum quality, return on learning, evidence, data privacy, and all this, which is key to supporting positive student outcomes. However, these conversations can easily become siloed at a district, which leads us to Learn Platform, which is an edtech effectiveness system designed to help district leaders manage these complexities and build out transparent, efficient, evidence-based edtech ecosystems that can be easily understood by their teachers, families, and other community stakeholders. So our goal and commitment is to expand the equitable access to all students to the teaching and technology that works best for them. So this process starts with the Learn Platform library, which is composed of over 11,000 edtech tools. And this library provides easy visibility to many types of evidence that are important to our administrators across these different roles, including research and evidence, curriculum quality, student data privacy, and interoperability, which I've already touched on these. And we're very thankful for our partnerships with these groups, including Innovate EDU. So thank you for having us today. And with this critical info in hand, and with the additional tools in the platform available to automate their edtech management workflows and engage in context-specific research on these individual tools, this allows administrators to speed up their product evaluation processes and ensure that the edtech quality is in line with their ecosystem and best supports their staff and students. Jumping into a quick demonstration of what this looks like in the platform itself. So this is the overview page for a product in our library. This is just a made-up product, but you can see that teachers can access the approval and privacy statuses from this page. They can also access on the right-hand side feedback from other educators at their district. Providers can claim this page and update their description or images and certifications attached to these products, which are also displayed up at the top next to the name. And then we allow educators and admins to also dive into a more detailed view of some of these reviews and privacy certifications. On this page, our privacy tab, which has a couple of pieces of data here, such as the same badges on the right. So pointing out the Project Unicorn Interoperability Certification badge. And then also providers can share individual resources from this page as well. So down at the bottom of the documentation, you can add like privacy policy, terms of service, VPAT, or any other interoperability resources you might like. And in addition, our platform provides a great place for providers to get information in the context that get data in context of how it's being used. So for example, customers can come to this page to also see how products have been, the vetting outcomes from other districts, and quickly look for if there's general patterns for approved or not. But then if not, then they can dig down into that and find out maybe why this product wasn't approved in a certain district. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Chloe.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelsey. And that is all of the presentation that we have. So we are going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions for anyone or anything about the certification or the platforms, or for Yoni from the perspective of a vendor, the value in the certification or the indexes, please put them into the chat. We would love to get to that. But I'm going to start with a question for Kelsey. So the question is, how can I get signed up on the Learn platform?
Yeah, so there are two links dropped here in the chat. The first one would be helpful if you want to get started with Learn platform, but we have a research department, and essentially what they'll do is work with you if you'd like to be able to show evidence for your product. They'll work out a logic model with you and then help put together an analysis and research plan for how to analyze your product. And then we have a set of ESSA badges that we can that we provide for those providers if they meet, depending on level, if they meet ESSA 1, 2, 3, or 4. So there is a link over there to show more about how you can get started with that.
Great. And this question is for Danny. So similar question, how can I get set up with the EdSurge product index and the LTD?
So basically, to get your interoperability badge on the EdSurge product index, there's really nothing you need to do. The only steps you need to take are to join the LTD and by extension, the EdSurge product index. And you can do that by going to ltd.iste.org. And I just put that link in the chat and you click join now.
Perfect. Great. And another question, this one is for Yoni. So Yoni, at what point do you think I should get involved with Project Unicorn as an edtech vendor?
So I would say that the first place to start is with the interoperability pledge. That's a kind of an easy way to start. And then to start talking to the folks at Project Unicorn to really figure out what are the steps you need to take to receive the pledge, and what are the steps in your product to receive the certification, and what are the steps in your product you need to take to make interoperability a core function of the product. And so, for us at Branching Minds, we were in the startup phase for many years and really didn't have the time and resources for the certification. But we were embedding different ways of making the platform interoperable over those years. And then when the Project Unicorn project came out, it became kind of the right time for us to really move forward with that certification process. And so I would say embed the process early on, and then and when you're at that step where you're really kind of going out to districts, going out to you're promoting your product in sales meetings, marketing, then at that point, that's a really great stage to receive that certification.
Great. And another question, so kind of similar on the same train of thought. So what if I'm not ready to get certified yet as an edtech vendor, but want to be part of Project Unicorn and that network? So the answer to that would be in the next slide. I'm going to show you a way that, as a vendor, that you can get involved with the Project Unicorn Pledge, which is the first step to just pledging your commitment to making your product or your products interoperable. And through that, what you will receive is notification on when we have webinars like this, different resources that we are creating, and you will be part of the network with that. So I'm going to share my screen again and put the information about the pledge up. You can go to that link, or you can use the QR code. So this is maybe 1 to 2 minutes of your time. Again, you are just pledging that you are going to commit to increasing secure access, privacy, and interoperability in your products. And the first step that happens when you sign the pledge is you will get an email saying to set up a meeting with the Project Unicorn team. So you will meet with me and my colleague Susan, and we will learn more about your product and your interoperability journey. And we can also give you advice on letting you know, some partners or organizations to start to look into, or even put you in touch with some partners or organizations. And then you will just have access of a community of like-minded edtech vendors and also school systems that are committed to interoperability. So if you have not done so already, it's a great time to sign the pledge. And if you have already signed the pledge and you're ready to apply for the certification, we do our certification in batches, and we actually just had 6 new products certified in the past month. And then we are going to have a batch of certified vendors within this next month. So if you are ready, now is the time to apply. You can go to www.projectunicorn.org. We will also chat in the link. And when you get there, on the top, you can click Interoperability Tools and Interoperability Certification. And then you are going to click where it says Complete the Interoperability Certification application. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And we did have a quick question come in through the chat. So is there a fee for joining the Learn platform, or just to get badges?
So to work with us as the evidence as a service and create a logic model, that is a subscription. But just to get the badge, I don't believe costs anything, as long as you can show evidence and work with us, sort of similar to this Project Unicorn process where you're showing us evidence and we identify as a third party whether it meets those standards. And if so, then we will provide the badge.
Great. And we are going to wrap up in the next few minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, put them into the chat or into the Q&A. Other than that, I'm going to just share a couple of things about Project Unicorn. So you can check out our resource library, and that is where we make different one-pagers or guides that can help schools or help vendors. You can type in vendor into the keyword search to find vendor related resources. We also have a YouTube channel, and if you did miss our last webinar, this is where you can find the previous one, or we have a bunch of different webinars on there. Or if you're here now and you feel like this would be relevant to share with someone, we will upload this in the next couple of days on our YouTube channel. I will follow up with the slide deck as well as the recording. Other than that, I want to thank our presenters today for joining us, and thank you all so much for attending this webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.